Hello, everyone. Andrew Logan here. Great to be doing a Facebook Live interview with you. We are here for the podcast. We're here on Facebook Live. And as I'm sure you can see if you're watching the live or the recording, I have an incredible guest with me. Now, just quickly before I bring him on, I just want to share how I first fell in love with this incredible trainer and speaker and author. Essentially, because for me, it was 11 years ago, almost to the day, 11 years ago, that I made the decisions that I need to change a few things in my life. I needed to change my energy, I needed to change my health, and we needed to change how we were earning an income because for Angie and I, we needed to have more time at home with our children, and that wasn't going to happen on the pathway that we were going down. So I made the decision to step into business. And the problem is, as I'm sure many of you will know, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, and I was afraid of being made fun of. I was afraid of rejection. I was afraid of people saying no to me and like hurting my feelings and all those sorts of things. So, what do? You go out and find people who know what they're doing and learn from them. And I came across a book called Icebreakers by Tom Big Al Schreiter, and instantly I just fell in love with the writing, the scripting, the language, just easy, digestible books that, they weren't long, so you could sit down and read them in one afternoon, and straight away you could put those, like, all the scripts and all the tips and tricks into action straight away. And I just started buying all of his books, like How to Build Leaders, The Color Personalities, Closing, Pre-Closing. Pre-Closing is my absolute favorite. I actually just went back and re-listened to it with Dan on Audible just the other day once we set up this interview so I could remind myself of how amazing it is. So, Tom, Big Al Schreider, it's an absolute honor to have you here on the podcast and on the Facebook Live today. Thanks for being here, mate.
I'm happy to be here, and especially happy to talk about overcoming the fear of rejection because unless you're an alien, rejection hurts.
Yeah. And I did just say to you before we went on as well, but I wanted to say it live on here because I know a lot of people were commenting when I did the post that I was going live with you and I shared them into the groups. I did the email blasts out. The number of people that just said A, how much they love your books, how much they love your writing, but B, just how they'd met you at events, and just what an incredible person you are, how caring you are, how easily approachable you are. And even for me, just a small chat over Messenger a couple of weeks ago, and we're able to link up an interview without any stress. You were just incredibly giving and offering with your time. So let's get straight into things, Tom, and talk about rejection. I guess probably a great place to start is, why are we so scared of rejection? What is it about humans where we don't like the word no in particular? It's two letters. There's not really that much to the word, but we really hate it, don't we?
Well, not going very deep into brain science, here's the biological reason. 10,000 years ago, we lived in tribes, and if you got rejected and kicked out of the tribe, you'd be alone, and the saber-toothed tigers would eat you. So you'd die. So every person has, as the number one program in our human brains, is called survival. And survival means stay with the group, be safe, avoid trying new stuff because that could be dangerous. And if you die, all bets are off. So we all have this built-in subconscious program from birth. It's not our fault. We got it, and it says don't get rejected. And when we do, it just feels horrible. So I tell people rejection's bad, and it's probably what keeps us from doing things. So there's only two ways to handle objection. And I'll share the two ways. You can pick and choose whichever one you like. But if we have rejection, we can't live with it forever. We got to get rid of it. So there's only two ways to handle it. Here's way number one. The first way is to chant affirmations, sing the company song, walk across burning coals, do running high five with your imaginary downline, lie to your subconscious mind, yell I'm one with the universe, uh, read more motivational quotes, and this is pretty much the advice that we're given to overcome rejection. And I have to admit that in the 50 plus years I've been in the business, I haven't been able to make uh, that work. It just hasn't worked.
I love
So
it.
if you happen to be one of those people that, oh wow, walked across calls and all of a sudden your mind switched, um, congratulations. But if you look around, you'll see your team members. Yeah, they got a motivational book, but did it really change? Probably not. They still hate rejection. So that's way number one. So it's an option. I just have no idea how to make that option work. So being brave, courageous, superstar. Pretend you don't care about what other people think of you. Go for it. Option number two is to completely avoid rejection. You say, well, that's kind of a coward way out. And I say, well, yeah, but it really works. So if you're started like me, I was a shy, introverted, personality free, charisma bypass, socially challenged engineer. Yeah, when I went out and talked to people, got rejection, oh, it was awful. So the only way for me to say, all right, I guess I could bite my lip every day, but pretty soon I'm going to have swollen lips. I better find a way of doing it without rejection. So what we need to do is do our business in a way that's completely rejection free, and then all the problems are done. So that's why I chose number two.
I
So
love
those
it.
are the two options.
Yeah, well, obviously, I'm sure everyone who's watching in and listening in wants to know option two. Just before we jump into that, as you say, I mean, there's people out there, and we say, "Oh, I don't really care what people think, and I don't mind," but we all do, right? We all do at a DNA level. Because if we didn't, everyone, we'd all be walking around with no clothes on, wouldn't we? We just wouldn't. We wouldn't care at all. We'd all just be walking down the street, not worrying anything about our personal look or our hygiene or anything. We all have it deep down. I think some people just, as you say, maybe hide it, maybe sort of mask it a little bit. But at the end of the day, it's much easier to take option two, isn't it? And just figure out how we can change our language, because that's one of the handful of things we can control in this business is what we say. And if we can change our language, then we can avoid rejection by doing it that way.
Yeah, I like that example. I mean, how many times have we left the house and forgot to put our clothes on? Probably
Well,
not often, right?
my
So
son, my son did it occasionally, but yeah, yeah,
but so we have a habit of putting clothes on because we don't want other people, bad thoughts about us. It's a habit. We do it automatically. We don't have to make a conscious willpower decision to do it. So if we find something that's enjoyable and we can make it a habit, that's the way to build a business. So just trying to make things work. So let's do an example here of avoiding rejection. So let's try this. How many people here have ever felt rejected when you attempted to talk to somebody? All right. So what happens is we get an expectation, and the expectation is if I talk to somebody based upon my past experience, not going to end well. I'm going to get rejected. I'm going to feel bad. I said, okay, got it. So we procrastinate. So instead of getting rejection, talk to somebody. What we need to do is change our intention. Now, here's our original intention. We're going to talk to somebody and we're going to try to get an appointment. It's going to be win, lose, live or die, get an appointment or not. And based upon that intention and our past experiences, it's going to end up pretty ugly. So we procrastinate. So what we're going to do is change our intention. Now, when we change our intention, it shows up all over our face. Now, I'm sure you've seen somebody and you just know they're a salesman. Maybe you're on a Gold Coast beach and you're just laying there in the sand and you see a person with a three-piece suit and tie carrying a briefcase coming toward you. You just go, oh, salesman. You know the feeling. So when we read people's intentions. We have the ability as humans to look at somebody and within 1 second pretty much sort them out. Why we have this is it's called survival. Tens of thousands of years ago, two cavemen meet in the forest, first time. They have about 1 second to figure out if that person is going to be friend or foe. If they get it wrong, they die. So all of our ancestors got it right. So we have built-in programs that can look at somebody and we size them up like that. So here's the clues that we use. Obviously, we check out for the words they use. So if they come, I'm in the global search for entrepreneurial talent for time freedom, financial freedom, looking for 5 leaders here in the area to expand my business. You know, we feel a little bit of vomit form in our mouth. We say, oh, this is not going to end well. So the words people use is not so good. Let me give you the one word. Just once we hear it, you say, whoa, I didn't realize this. Here's the word presentation. When we say the word presentation, what do people think? Ooh, you're going to come over and try to sell me. I better look for the reasons why it won't work. So at the end, when you try to close me, I have some objections. So when we say the word presentation, that means a sales presentation. They have to look for reasons why it won't work during our whole presentation. That's not going to end well. How about this? Instead of the word presentation, what we're going to do is say options, OPTIONS. And options, oh, wow. Do people like options? Yeah, that means they're in charge. They get to choose. No pressure from us. It's okay if they do it or they don't. But they say, wait a minute, if it's an option, oh my, options. That means if I don't take advantage of the option, I won't get any benefit. So let me look for reasons why. So just a quick example is just changing that one word can have people react totally different. So we listen to the words they say, tone of voice, body language, and microfacial expressions. Now, the human face can make 25 different poses per second, and our subconscious minds are able to read these. Our conscious mind can't. Our subconscious mind reads it and says, what's their intention? So all you have to do is control the words you say, the tone of voice, the microfacial expressions, and you say, well, how do I do that? And we do it by changing our intention. I don't know if you can hear the torrential jungle downpour in the background.
So I actually thought it was some shopping trolleys being pushed past, but
No,
I'm
it's
sure everyone's
one of the hazards of living in the
listening.
jungle.
Oh
So,
no, we can still hear you loud and clear. I did just want to, sorry, just quickly, Tom, just jumping in when I love how you talk about options because again, I was going back through some of your audibles, like just in this past week, just refreshing my memory. And again, I've got to say, there's something about Dan's voice and Dan's voice with your language. It's just an absolute perfect match, and he's just again got that. You feel like you're just being massaged while you're while you're being taught. But I love how you're talking about how we can't use high pressure sales, and that you talk about the salesman on the beach in a suit when he should be in board shorts on the beach, but we can't use high pressure tactics at the end of the day because if we convince someone to get in, and I mean that's all right in the first place, but we're running a volunteer army as well, and so you can't convince someone to volunteer, do you? They have to want to choose the options that you give them. They have to want to do what you're offering. So I love how you talk about that as giving people the options, and then they get to make the decision on what they do.
right. Now, before people get upset about people making decisions, when you meet a stranger, you size them up right away before the presentation. And our prospects are going to make a decision before our presentation. And if that bothers you that they're making their final decision before the presentation, all I can say is just get over it. And if you don't believe that's true, let's do a couple tests here. How many ladies here have ever met a young man, made up your mind about that young man and where that young man would fit in your life, and made that final decision within the first 30 seconds of meeting that young man? And the answer
My
is, well,
my
yeah.
wife has her hand up.
Now, if you're a man, you think, wait a minute, that's not fair. You haven't heard my presentation. But ladies, they know it's true. So, ladies, when you see a man, just look him in the eye and say, that's how it works. We make up our minds instantly. If I say to you, can I take your children skydiving with me? How quick was your decision? Before the presentation, before I told you that I'm a certified skydiver, I'm successful 3 out of 4 times, it's over. So here's the deal. All we have to do is control the first 15 seconds. The bad news is it's over in 15 seconds. The good news is we only have to be good for 15 seconds. So are you ready? Let's do it.
Let's do it.
If we're going to talk to somebody, here's the formula. Benefits, benefits, benefits plus permission. Benefits plus permission. That's it. All we're going to do is realize the number one truth. Prospects aren't stupid. They want what's better in their life. And whatever we're offering is guaranteed to be better in their lives. So we don't have to sell. So prospects aren't stupid. They can figure out what's good for them or not. And we're just going to give them an option. So we're going to give them an option and then give them permission to say, whoa, I like that option. Please tell me a lot more. How does that sound? So let's see how it sounds in real life and see if you pick up the pattern here. You're at work tomorrow and you say to your coworker, you know, this dream-sucking vampire boss who's taking little bits of our brain out every day, turning us into human zombies. I hate this job. But I finally got a plan to escape in January. Benefit. Would you like to know my plan? Permission. And your prospect at work will say what? Yeah. Done. All we did is offer an option. And if they take the option or not, they're in charge of their lives. But most people say, well, I want what's better in my life. And you say, well, yeah. And then you're going to say these words. Then we should talk. How hard is it to get an appointment? So, well, can we talk now? No, we're at work. You know, how about coffee break? Okay, or Saturday. Done. People make this so difficult. So let's just try a couple examples of different things. Let's say you sold diet products. You might say, my mom lost 20 pounds last month. Would you like to know her secret? Benefit plus permission. They might go, well, yeah. Well, then we should talk. So, oh, well, what if I sold skincare? Say, my mom's skin is looking so young, she got carded before they would serve her drinks at the restaurant yesterday. Would you like to know what she did? Yeah. Tell me what she did. Well, then we should talk. Say, you know, inflation's been really bad, but now I have an extra paycheck to help. Would you like to know what I'm doing? Yeah. And all we did was give people an option. And if they say no, they say, man, I'm a full-time loser. I don't want anything to improve my life. You know, if I didn't have anything to complain about, you know, I'd be a mute. So, you know, please don't do anything to help me. I don't want to fall on a sword. Could you hold the sword for me, or could you push me off a cliff? If that's their decision, it's okay. All we do is give people an option, knowing that most people want what's better in their life, and what we have to offer is better. And you say, I could do this all day. No rejection. And that's the secret. You make a habit all day of giving people a benefit. So you say, well, can you use it anywhere? All right. Saturday morning, you're off work, so you go to the shopping mall. You see minimum wage clerks putting clothes out there. Now, what do we know about the minimum wage clerks? Are they overpaid or underpaid? Well, sheesh, underpaid. What else do we know about them? They have a hangover from Friday night. They don't want to be there. They hate their job. So we might say to them, hey, yeah, I used to work weekends, but I found out how to avoid that. Would you like to know what I did? Yeah. Well, then we should talk. And you say, so that's how you avoid rejection. And the answer is, yeah, you stop doing stuff that gets rejection. So if your hand hurts because you're hitting it with a hammer, stop hitting your hand with a hammer.
Mm.
Same with rejection. If you're getting rejection, change what we say so there would be no more rejection and life is pretty good. So that's the short story and how it works.
I love it. And I think I'm pretty sure it comes from pre-closing, and correct me if I'm wrong, sorry, but you really just talk about how, again, you're giving people the option of saying, look, you can make a decision to change, or you can make a decision to stay where you are, essentially. Like if you make the decision to think about it or anything like that, then essentially you're making the decision to continue to accept what you're accepting. And it's that same mindset of it's just an option. There's no hard press on this decision, but just know that the decision to not make a decision is the decision to keep doing what you're doing. And I've always really loved that mindset that we're not there to get people to buy, we're there to get people to make a decision. And so if you give them two options and they decide one way or they decide the other, they've made that decision, and everything from there, can't say it's easier from there, but it's obviously considerably easier. Like it's not a foregone conclusion, but it's much easier at that point because they've made the decision to hear what we're talking about.
So if you're, an example would be closing. If you're scared of closing, you're scared of rejection, use these 9 words. Just say, so what is going to be easier for you? And if you say, so what's going to be easier for you, you're going to give them 2 choices. Choice number 1 is the wonderful thing we offer. And choice number 2 is keep your miserable life the same. So you say, so what's going to be easier for you to get started tonight? So next week you start having a part time check every week, or to continue trying to get by on one paycheck. So it's
Yeah.
going to be easier for you to change what you have for breakfast every morning to lose weight naturally, or continue to exercise and sweat and watch all the weight keep coming back. So just a matter of options. So if you can remember the word options, you got this made. So
Uh,
anybody can do this, even shy engineers like me.
yeah. I love it. I'd love we just take a quick tangent because I've heard you share this story at live events when I've seen you train live. Because I mean it still makes me laugh when you started, when you very first started, and like so many of us, you were, every master was once a disaster. And I remember how you spoke about your wife was saying, "Well, how's your business going?" And it hadn't got off the ground yet, and so the words you chose to use were, "It's going the same," rather than say, "Well, I continue to fail." You were saying it goes the same. Was there a specific, like snap point? Was there something where it all just suddenly changed for you? Or was it just, has this been gradual? I mean, you've been doing this for decades now. When we go right back to struggling right at the start, was there one thing that you can put it down to that helped you change? Or you just had to become a student, like so many of us, you just had to become a student of business and a student of the skills that you need to be successful?
Well, it was pretty easy for me to change because engineers are logical. So I had these excuses. The meetings are too far away. There's snow on the ground. There's no, the economy, the area. And so this man asked me, so do other people in your area make checks? And I says, yeah, but I don't. He says, well, they have the same economy, the same products, the same opportunity as you do. So they must say something different. And it hit me.
Mm.
So I said, well, if what I'm saying doesn't work, maybe I should say something different. And say something different so I don't get rejected, so I don't fear making calls anymore. So yeah, in a heartbeat, I figured out if what we're working doesn't work, then maybe we should just change a little bit so it does work. Instead of just, I don't know, what do you call it? Beating the dead horse? I don't know what you call it in Australia. All I know is
Yeah,
shrimps on
flogging
the
a dead
barbie.
horse.
Okay.
My father and my brother are both engineers, and so my brother's now a police officer, but he did go through engineering as well. And yeah, there's I've probably got a little bit of that engineering DNA in me too. Where I mean, I went and worked in the health science, and as a physio with the human body, but just that logical processing. I think sometimes we it can be hard to break, can't it? Where we're just so black and white and logical, and it can just be as simple as someone else coming in and saying, "Hey, if you're going down the same path and getting the same result, maybe you should walk down a different path. Maybe you should use different words when you open your mouth." But sometimes we can be, I mean, my dad and my brother, I love them more than anything, but they can be stubborn, right? They can be a little bit
Yeah.
stuck in the same processes.
Yeah, engineers, we find it difficult to change because we feel we're right automatically. But when the results prove us wrong, it's a traumatic experience. But it
Uh,
happens. We have to adjust.
I love it. I love it. Now, I want to tell people about your. Let me just bring up the banner as well. So, I listen. I listen. I should say I listen to a lot of your books on Audible. So if you're not if you don't love reading, if you're not a great reader, just jump on Audible as well because there's how many books do you have now, Tom? I actually lost count. I did try and count them before we jumped on, but there's a because you've
Well,
just
I've
released
written,
the mind reading one too, haven't you?
I've written over 50 books, but I think about 45 of them are about network marketing. So uh, there's plenty to choose from. Lots of skills that we can learn, and all I do is
Yeah.
just write down what worked, and then people can pick and choose. It's only an option. You can grit it out, or you can take an easier route. That's what I tell people, and
Yeah.
most of us like easier.
Now you can. I've popped the website up there. It's bigowlbooks.com as well if you're listening in on the podcast. But you've got a newsletter there as well where you give out your awesome tips. And I did steal one the other day. I have to give you credit. I did steal one the other day because, my real passion and the thing that I think we can really help in this industry is better financial mindset. And we do have a kind of all or nothing mentality. You're either making seven figures a year and traveling the world and going to the F1 in Monaco and all that kind of stuff, or you're struggling and there's, some of that financial mindset of freedom and that I think we can really improve. But you had that great email recently just talking about buying yourself a day off. If you make $1,000 a week, that's $200 a day. So the first $200 in your business, don't see that as, oh, I'm only making $200. Again, change the words that you use to yourself even and say, you know what, I've just bought myself a day off a week. I've bought myself moving down to a 4-day work week. And I absolutely love that one. I was reading that one recently and I did have to borrow elements of that because it really resonated with what I like to talk about as well. So, guys, if you want just some free tips, if you're not a great listener, if you're not a great reader, jump onto I almost called you Al, sorry. Jump onto Tom's newsletter there, and you'll get his awesome tips as well every week. Anything else you'd like to add before we do finish up? Because I respect your time and appreciate what you've done for us so far.
No, that said, subscribe to the newsletter if you want cool tips twice a week, and they're just short, easy tips of things to say that makes people say yes. And that's our job. The company does everything else. All we have to do is get people to say yes. So I love the deal in network marketing. The company supplies the products, they ship stuff, they handle the lawyers. All we got to do is get people to say yes. So this is an unfair partnership. They do all the work. We just get people to say yes. And once we master that, it is great. So hope everybody can hear me over the monsoon that's coming through. And just try this. Give people a benefit and use a permission statement like, would you like to know his secret? Would you like to know what she did? Would you like to know my plan? And it works like magic. No more rejection.
Absolutely love it. And I don't know if you can see all the incredible comments coming in. I'll send a few of them through to you later. But everyone, even Susan here saying that your emails are fabulous. I know Susan did mention that she met you recently as well, which is cool. Well, making a little while ago, I should say, which is really, really cool. So I greatly appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being on the Facebook Live, being on the podcast. This will also be up on YouTube. So, guys, if you got great benefit out of today, make sure you go grab the newsletter, just start getting those awesome tips a couple of times a week. And it is just like osmosis, you just sit there and you start absorbing these things And it's amazing how your language will change, your posture will change, your confidence will change. And that'll also lead to your results changing, which hopefully we've been able to help you with today. Tom, thank you so much for being on, mate, and thank you everyone for watching and commenting and listening in.